Next question is from John Draker. What is your biggest regret from your early weight training days?
Oh, geez.
Well, I think first we have to reword that because I don't think any of us have regrets.
Well, if you could go back and train yourself as a kid, what would you say?
Yeah, so I think that's a better way to word this because I think that we all agree that all of our decisions, good or bad, have led us to where we are today, and I completely accept that, and I'm happy for that, right? So, but if I were to go back and do something different in my training routine, right, or tell 20-year-old me who's really starting to get into hardcore training, here's some tips, Adam, you should know that you'll find out later on. The big one that comes to mind right away is squatting and deadlifting.
Yeah.
And overhead press. Those three movements that are the staple and foundation of all of my routines was virtually non-existent for the first almost 10 years. I mean, yes, a little bit here and there, but not consistent. Not like now. It's completely flipped where it was, I used to squat. I would never deadlift it, so for sure that. But squatting and overhead pressing was a very infrequent thing that happened in my routine. And my thought when it did go in there, it was just to change things up because I love doing the leg press and lunges and leg extensions and leg curls and all the machines when it came to my leg stuff and overhead. And when it came to overhead pressing, I was rarely ever doing barbell overhead press. It was, dumbbell stuff, lateral raise stuff, machine stuff. So those three movements, I always benched. I think most all kids or guys bench, that was something I did that. But if I were to go back, it would be to squat, deadlift, barbell, overhead press, those three movements, way more than what I was doing.
I agree 100%. Now, I was fortunate enough to be taught by some local power lifters, some older guys that really jacked, that told me to focus on those lifts. And so I did those lifts, but what I also did was I also threw in a bunch of garbage exercises. So it's like I did everything. And I would have been way better off
just focusing on
had I took out, all these machine exercises and just focused on those and maybe some additional, compound lift, maybe accessory movements, but gotten rid of all the other stuff. I would have done so much better with my training. The other thing I would do if I could go back in time is I would talk to younger me during that whole over-the-counter designer steroid pro hormone time. This is back when the laws were very interesting, and if it wasn't explicitly banned, you could sell. They called them pro hormones, but make no mistake, they were designer steroids. Like Superdrol is a famous one, Haladrol is another one. These are in the early 2000s, and we were just popping them like they were, like they were Skittles because they worked so well and because we weren't told that necessarily that's what they were. We thought, it's a pro hormone. Your body converts it to whatever, and if it doesn't, then that's okay. No. These things were legit, and I should have known better because when you take them, you can tell, and when you go off, you can definitely tell. And I'm sure that did who knows what that did to, my hormone production, my future hormone production.
Yeah, I can think of a few things. Definitely deadlifting was not in the regiment. I did power cleans and would take it from the floor. And so it had some, carryover with that. But if I would have really built up the base of strength with deadlifts too, on top of all the other like core lifts, I think that would have helped quite a bit. But one of the main things was when I was really trying to get big because of my position change. I had to go into inside linebacker and I was outside before. And so I was like fast, explosive, athletic. And my coach was just hammering me about getting bigger and stronger by all means necessary. And so the whole summer, I'm just the dirtiest bulk possible, everything with deep dish pizzas and, burgers and cheeseburgers and, anything I could stuff in my face, and then just training as hard as I could in terms of being in, the weight room with barbells, but not keeping up my athleticism, not keeping my skills training in the protocol, just literally just living in the gym and getting beastly big and immobile. And I showed up, for camp, and I just couldn't move. I had like terrible balance. And it's almost like the muscle bound thing where they talk about where it's just like, and I know how that happens is because you don't maintain all those skills at the same time. And that was totally a detriment to my performance on the field. So that was one big thing that I wish I could have changed alongside the whole carb loading thing before games. Like what a stupid thing that our coach, everybody's like eating waffles and pancakes and all this stuff before the game, and then we get to the game and everybody's like, like just crashing because of Anyway,
How much weight did you gain during? Now this was over a summer.
it was over summer.
Yeah,
much
20 or 30 pounds.
20 pounds.
Yeah, I remember.
Wow.
So much.
That's a lot, dude.
It was stupid. It was like it was a chore of just eat, train, don't move. Like sit on the couch.
And how did you feel? Like, I'm sure running straight ahead, you probably felt okay, but
I was very strong. Like you couldn't push me over, right? But if you came from the side, I would get like demolished.
that's hilarious.
The other thing that I would tell younger Adam to do also is that while you're doing those 3 movements too, because I know my mentality as a young kid, it was just do more, go harder, and I would tell myself to perfect those 3 things, because if I had the attitude towards squatting, deadlifting, and overhead pressing that I do today, of always critiquing not really worrying about my PR or how heavy I'm lifting, but just being meticulous about the movement,
the skill,
and trying to be great at those 3 movements. Oh my God, I think that if you have that as a base as a young kid, you get good at those movements. I can't imagine the body that. Well, I mean, you look at people like, and I think of people like Mike Salemi, who's a good friend of ours, like just how strong and mobile and fit that guy is. And he's got the gymnastic background. He then got to go. He was taught by Lou Simmons and all those guys. Like, I mean, he's such a great example of somebody who has such a beautiful foundation of weight training, and then it's expressed in the way he moves. When you see the guy move, it's unbelievable on all levels, right? Just mobile, strong, fast, resilient, like very impressive.
Awesome.